The case of Christopher Pelkey's AI-generated testimony in Arizona highlights a growing trend of using artificial intelligence in legal proceedings. The family created a digital version of him to address the convicted killer during sentencing, blending technology with emotional impact.
This isn't just about the trial, it's a legal and ethical milestone. The AI video allowed the family to convey Chris' message of forgiveness, bypassing traditional victim impact statements. But how does this fit into judicial norms?
The Arizona court accepted the AI video because it aligned with existing family testimonies, but critics warn about the risks of deepfakes. The defense appealed, arguing the judge improperly relied on the AI content.
The family's motivation was clear: to humanize Chris' legacy. Stacey Wales, his sister, worked with tech experts to replicate his voice and appearance. They even adjusted his photo to remove logos and edit his look.
This case raises questions about AI's role in courts. While it's legal in Arizona, experts fear misuse. Gary Marchant pointed out that deepfakes are easy to create and could sway juries.
The broader implication is that AI might become a tool for both justice and manipulation. Courts must balance innovation with safeguards. For now, this trial shows how technology can bridge the gap between victims and perpetrators.
Today's story centers on the 1962 escape from Alcatraz, a prison once deemed impenetrable. 3 inmates vanished without a trace, leaving a mystery that endures decades later.
The prison, located on an island near San Francisco, was originally a naval fortress. By the 1930s, it became a maximum security prison for dangerous criminals.
The escape plan involved months of preparation. The prisoners used tools like a stolen sander and metal spoons to drill through concrete, creating a hidden tunnel.
They crafted a rubber raft, life vests from stolen raincoats, and fake heads made of soap and paper to fool guards during their absence.
On June 11, 1962, the trio fled through the tunnel, scaling the prison's ventilation system. They reached the shore, inflated their raft, and disappeared into the night.
The alarm was raised the next morning when guards found the fake heads. Despite extensive searches, the prisoners vanished without a trace.
Authorities later concluded they likely perished in the treacherous waters, but the case remains unsolved. Speculations and alleged sightings persist to this day.
The prison closed in 1963 due to structural decay and rising costs. Yet, the escape's legacy endures, symbolizing both human ingenuity and the limits of institutional control.
Jefferson Marighella, a Brazilian priest, went viral on social media after being filmed in Vatican Square waiting for the announcement of the new pope. His appearance and Brazilian heritage sparked widespread attention.
His viral moment came from a video by content creator Giovanni Douglas Lopez, who highlighted Jefferson's beauty and nationality, leading to over 180K likes and 7.2K comments. Many viewers compared him to the TV character Padre Pedro from Mulheres Apaixonadas.
Jefferson, based in Rome but from Rio de Janeiro, is a cultural concierge and expert in sacred art history. He holds a postgraduate degree in sacred art history and a master's in cultural assets from Rome's Gregoriana University.
Previously, he worked as a parish priest in Rio and managed social media for the archdiocese. Recently, he was in Jerusalem as a tour guide and shared a photo with the Vatican newspaper announcing Cardinal Robert Prevost as the new pope.
His viral moment underscores the intersection of faith, culture, and digital fame. While the pope's announcement is the headline, Jefferson's story highlights global Catholic engagement and the role of social media in modern religious spaces.
It's a rare blend of tradition and modernity, using platforms like Instagram to bridge cultural identity with ecclesiastical roles. The story also reflects how public figures, even in religious contexts, can become symbols of broader narratives.
The relationship between China and Russia has shifted from balanced to strategic, driven by Russia's war in Ukraine. China avoids criticizing Moscow, but also doesn't offer direct military support, instead focusing on economic ties and diplomatic statements.
This balance is delicate. While Xi Jinping supports Putin's stance against the West, he's cautious to avoid isolating China economically. Russia's isolation due to sanctions has made it more reliant on China, which complicates their dynamic.
China's neutrality in the Ukraine conflict is a calculated move. By avoiding direct confrontation with the West, it preserves its global standing while maintaining ties with Russia. However, this risks straining relations with the EU, which is a key trade partner.
The EU is wary of China's alignment with Russia, especially after the Ukraine invasion. China's diplomatic overtures to the EU, like the 50th anniversary messages, aim to counter Trump's trade policies, but Russia's support remains a hurdle.
Xi's strategy is to position China as a stable alternative to the U.S., but Russia's weakened position post-Ukraine war means China holds more leverage. This creates a power imbalance, with Russia needing China more than the other way around.
The war has also strained Russia's economy and military, making it more dependent on China's resources. While Putin and Xi maintain a public alliance, underlying tensions could emerge as Russia's isolation deepens.
Trump's attempts to build rapport with Putin have been met with skepticism by China, which sees this as a threat to its strategic interests. Xi's warnings against Trump's missile shield plans highlight the broader rivalry for global influence.
Ultimately, China's approach is about managing risks. By balancing support for Russia with engagement with the EU and the US, it aims to avoid being drawn into a broader conflict while expanding its geopolitical influence.
Today's story involves a fire at an industrial warehouse in Vilanova i la Geltrú, Catalonia, which released a toxic chlorine cloud, affecting over 160,000 people across 5 municipalities. No injuries were reported, but authorities ordered residents to stay indoors for 7 hours.
The fire broke out in the early morning, prompting immediate evacuation orders. Roads and trains were closed to prevent movement into the affected area. The chlorine cloud spread due to the chemical reaction between firefighting water and the stored substances.
The mayor of Vilanova explained that chlorine is hard to ignite, but difficult to extinguish once burning. The cause may be a lithium battery fire, as stated by the warehouse owner. Authorities are still monitoring the situation for potential follow-up restrictions.
Residents were advised to remain indoors, especially vulnerable groups like children and athletes. While the immediate threat has passed, lingering toxins could pose risks. This incident highlights the dangers of industrial chemical storage and emergency response coordination.
The incident underscores the need for stricter safety protocols in industrial zones. Authorities emphasize that while no injuries occurred, the scale of the event raises questions about preparedness and chemical handling.
As the region recovers, the focus shifts to assessing long-term impacts and preventing similar incidents. This story reminds us of the delicate balance between industrial activity and public safety.
India has launched missiles at 3 Pakistani air bases, including one near Islamabad. The strikes occurred late Saturday, escalating tensions between the two nuclear-armed nations. Pakistan claims its air defenses intercepted most of the missiles, though some reportedly bypassed defenses.
These attacks come amid a prolonged dispute over Kashmir, where both countries claim sovereignty. The conflict has intensified this week after India accused Pakistan of attacking Hindu tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir last month. Pakistan denies involvement in that incident.
Pakistan's military confirmed targeting bases in Rawalpindi and Punjab, regions close to the Indian border. Initial reports suggest no major damage to critical infrastructure, but the proximity to Islamabad raises concerns about potential civilian casualties.
Both nations have been exchanging artillery fire and drones along the line of control since Thursday. India claims to have downed Pakistani drones, while Pakistan asserts its missiles struck Indian territory. At least 48 people have been killed in the cross-border clashes, though casualty figures remain unverified.
The use of air power highlights the risks of miscalculation in a region already armed with nuclear weapons. Analysts warn that even a localized escalation could have catastrophic global consequences.
Without independent verification of casualties or clear communication channels, the situation remains volatile. The international community is closely monitoring developments, but both governments have yet to issue formal statements on the attacks.
The Pope, now known as Leo XIV, has emphasized continuing the reforms started by his predecessor, Francis. He called it a precious legacy that must be carried forward.
That's right. He specifically mentioned maintaining the focus on dialogue with the modern world, which was a key part of Francis' approach.
The name Leo XIV was chosen to reflect his commitment to social issues, especially in light of new challenges like AI and industrialization.
Exactly. He linked his name to Leo XIII, who fought for workers' rights in the 19th century. It's a clear signal about prioritizing social justice.
He also urged clergy to reaffirm reforms for Vatican II, like using local languages in Mass and engaging with other religions.
That's a big deal. These reforms were foundational for modernizing the Church. He's stressing their importance, saying Francis implemented them effectively.
On AI, he warned about ethical risks it could harm human dignity and deepen inequality. The Church wants to lead in ethical oversight.
Right. It's a bold stance, balancing tradition with tech progress while addressing real-world impacts. This could shape future church policies.
The Vatican's new Pope, Robert Prevost, faces immediate scrutiny over past actions in Peru. NGOs accuse him of covering up sexual abuse cases, but bishops claim he prioritized victim voices. Let's break down the controversy.
Prevost, 69, became pope after a career in Peru where abuse scandals plagued the church. Critics say he failed to investigate allegations, sending cases to Rome instead of handling them locally.
The Conferencia Episcopal Peruana praised his election, calling him a defender of victims, but organizations like SNAP and Bishop Accountability question his commitment to transparency.
During his time as Chiclayo bishop, 3 victims reported abuse, but Prevost didn't act. They eventually went to civil authorities in 2022, revealing his inaction.
His past as head of the Augustine Order in Chicago also drew criticism. A priest accused of abuse was allowed to live near a school in 2000, showing a pattern of negligence.
Now leading the Dicastrio para os Bispos, he oversaw cases against abusive bishops but allegedly kept secrets, allowing perpetrators to retain their titles.
Some bishops defend him, saying he followed canonical procedures. They argue investigations take time and must be thorough, but critics say delays enable abuse to continue.
While Prevost helped dissolve the Sodalcio de Vida Christ, a conservative group linked to abuse, victims still demand more action. NGOs urge him to enforce zero-tolerance policies and reparations.
The Church faces global challenges, with many countries treating abuse as a taboo. Independent investigations are rare, making Prevost's role critical in reforming Vatican protocols.
As he begins his papacy, the pressure is on to address systemic failures. Will he finally break the cycle of secrecy that has harmed so many?
Stephen Miller, a top advisor to Donald Trump, claims the White House is actively considering suspending the U.S. habeas corpus rights over an alleged immigrant invasion. He cited constitutional language allowing suspension during invasions or rebellions.
The habeas corpus provision prevents unlawful detentions, a cornerstone of American legal rights. Miller's remarks align with the 1787 constitutional clause permitting its suspension in extreme cases, though critics argue this could be weaponized against immigrants.
Miller's comments come amid reports of ICE agents using aggressive tactics to deport undocumented immigrants, including detaining protesters like Newark's Ras Baraka during a detention center inauguration.
The administration's push for new detention facilities stems from overcrowding 600 beds filled by March 2022. With over 14 million undocumented immigrants, critics warn this policy risks eroding legal protections and escalating tensions.
Democrats and civil rights groups condemn the approach, linking it to ICE's controversial practices, such as detaining immigrants in El Salvador's prisons. Miller's stance reflects a broader debate over balancing national security and civil liberties.
The constitutional ambiguity around habeas corpus suspension remains contentious. While the law permits it in emergencies, the scale of current immigration enforcement raises questions about its application and potential overreach.
Today's story revolves around a viral song that resurfaced after a major event. The Pope's election triggered a resurgence of We Know Speak Americano, a track that's been around since 2010.
The song, originally a quirky remix of an Italian song, gained global attention. It's now tied to a Pope's appointment, which is a huge cultural moment.
The track was created by an Australian DJ duo, Yolanda Be Cool. They took a 1950s Italian song and turned it into a dance hit.
The original song, Tu Vuf l'Americano, was a comedy staple in Italy. The remix became a meme, especially after the Pope's election.
The song's absurdity and catchy rhythm made it a meme. It's been used in movies like Oh, Talentoso Mr. Ripley, and even by Pitbull.
The DJs didn't expect it to take off. They were underground producers, but the track went viral. It's a case of serendipity.
The song's success opened doors for the duo. They now tour globally, a far cry from their early days.
The Pope's selection highlights how pop culture can intersect with global events. It's a reminder of the song's lasting impact.